Before starting this video, I apologize for the usage of text-to-speech. My previous recording sessions turned out to be null due to background noise, so this is my best option. Finally, all that is done. Now I can relax and do whatever I want. What the fuck?
Watching haters wonder why Gambino got the gang. Half-time cookie, all she wanna do is bang. Got her hair done, French braids, now she ASAP. Bino's so insensitive, she asking why you say that. Man, I'm chillin', real nigga feelin'. Rich kid asshole, pay me as a villain. Still spittin' that cash flow, DJ talent. I got penthouse on Bocos, PH balance.
Howdy. My name is Gray. You may also know me as Pandas. I am 20 years old and not a commentator, so I apologize for the state of this video. The subject in question today is someone whom I have talked about before, both in video format and through my community tab. This individual goes by VoidBerry420. This individual is also 20 years old as of the 8th of July 2024. This video is being made due to their actions towards me and others, including but not limited to stalking, sending others to harass me, cheating, attempting to police someone's sexual assault, sending an inappropriate item to a minor whilst being an adult, purposefully avoiding accountability, and more. This individual has also gone by many other names as listed on screen, these being Starry Error, Evil Autism, Mangled Void/Autism, Torty Galaxy Nico, Vincent with a 1 as the eye, Calico Void, most recently as I Play to Win. I encourage you to read the document that I have made on this individual for more information due to explaining myself better there, as well as having the screenshots and more high quality there. I will leave the transcript for the text-to-speech in the description if you cannot understand it very well. As well, I will try to put subtitles on this video. With that out of the way, before I begin talking about mine and others' experiences, I would like to note the content warnings for this video. This video will be talking about subjects such as suicide, sexual assault, grooming, cheating, darvo, manipulative behavior, emotional abuse of a partner, and more. I will have a small noise for the beginning of each section with content warnings listed on the screen, as well as for when I show a screenshot or image within the video. I know many others, myself included, like to listen to commentaries whilst drawing or working, so I urge you to look at the screen when you hear this noise. I would also like to note to not harass, attack, attempt to intimidate, and/or bully anyone mentioned in this video. I do not want a witch hunt, and I do not want the person in this video to get hurt. I want to say mine and others' piece and to show that just because you do bad things behind closed doors does not mean people will not speak up. My wishes will be stated at the end of this video with a personal message to the user in question. With that being said, all minors in this situation and those who do not wish to be involved will have their names censored for their own safety and boundaries. Now on with the video. I met this individual back when I was 14 years old on the 12th of March, 2019. We had met from them messaging me on Discord. We had begun talking from then and built up a friendship. I would like to note that at the time I was in an abusive friendship in real life. The details of such are not needed for this video. I will note over time I admitted feelings for Vincent, which had caused my abuser at the time to lash out. I became isolated away from everyone but one of my IRL friends and Vincent. Due to this isolation and previous event, I had started viewing Vincent as a higher being of sorts, as shown in the way I talked about them, most notably calling them Angel and/or my angel. Every bad behavior they expressed towards me I took, often blaming myself most if not all the time for the way they acted towards me. Our relationship would only last until July of 2019, which was the first pattern of behavior I did not recognize back then to be a cycle of love bombing. For the context of a later section, Vincent had met another individual at that time. We will call them S. Vincent had started neglecting me even back then, putting most of his time into his friendship with S. We even had a group chat together at some point. One night I had been messaged that S had feelings towards Vincent. I had panicked thinking I was being isolated again. Vincent had assured me that he was not going to leave me for S, however asking for a poly relationship at some point, which I had declined. I had gone to sleep that night being assured, yet the next day I received a breakup message. This is important due to it showing over the 5 years of me knowing him, his behavior has not changed in the slightest. Over the next months it was a continuous cycle of friendship, me getting blocked for little to no reason, me apologizing for no reason out of desperation for some hint what I had done wrong, and then friendship again. This cycle continued up until 2020/2021, of them blaming their behavior on their partner S at the time. During this he did not take accountability for the way he treated me then, yet later on in this video I was expected to apologize and change for things I shouldn't have. This cycle continued even without his ex anymore. 2 notable times I recall. Once was after I had asked him if he loved me. I asked him to say it in the call we were in. The next day when I woke up, I was blocked. Another time, is when he randomly messaged to me that he had feelings for M. They were both minors at the time, with M currently turning 17 this year to my knowledge. This minor will be important later. This shows a clear pattern of behavior of Vincent using me and throwing me out continuously whenever he wanted, as shown in a later section, also showing the cycle of love bombing as well. Every single time Vincent would block me, I would immediately apologize and grovel even when it was nothing to do with me. However, as shown even by 2 weeks ago, Vincent refuses to apologize and take any accountability for anything he has ever done. Eventually, me and him ended up getting together in May of 2022. Nothing much happened in between this time and the next section I will be speaking on. On March 15, 2023, I had received screenshots from Vincent himself detailing one of his friends named B being sexual towards them. I want to note that B acknowledges within the screenshots that she knew me and Vincent are together. As well, B had admitted 2 days earlier on the 13th of March, 2023 to having feelings, however had stated that they were not going to quote, "fuck up what you have" when confessing to him. As stated before, me practically being Vincent's white knight at this point, I had taken his word for what the screenshots said. I ended up telling N, whom was B's partner at the time. N and B are both important names you need to remember for later sections. 2 days later, I confronted B on her behavior. She started joking around at first, but after seeing I was serious immediately backed down, promising to leave and never interact with us again. From what I remember, she ended up cutting ties with Vincent. I would like to state that Vincent had told me he tried quote, changing the subject and not engaging. However, a couple of months later, when re-looking at the screenshots, I noticed that Vincent had explicitly lied to me. Within the screenshots he sent me, he expressed no behavior of quote, changing subjects or not engaging. He in fact within the screenshots had engaged in the behavior, talking about sexual things they were going to do in real life, along with him acknowledging the conversation is sexual. By definition as shown in the document, cheating is when a person in a monogamous romantic relationship has an emotional or sexual relationship with someone else without their partner's consent. I did not consent to this as their partner. I did not even understand this was going on at the time. Considering my reaction towards B, I think that is pretty clear. Telling B, quote, maybe and we will see, is not only not changing the subject, but also not denying them. You are giving the impression it could happen and engaging in the behavior. It probably does not help that Vincent is polyamorous. However, this is still cheating due to not having my consent and even knowledge at the time. This was the first incident of things going wrong, and me finally starting to open my eyes. Although, speaking of B unironically is Vincent's current partner. She is important within this video due to some of her actions and Vincent pushing them under the rug. As of request by this person, I will not state whom this had been towards, since they do not want to be included in this section. On August 22, 2023, 2 of Vincent's friends had gotten together to attempt to accuse someone of grooming, whom was only 17 at the time. There was another involved who was the supposed victim, however I do not remember much about them. Vincent's 2 friends being C and B respectively. Both of them had pushed the false allegation onto said person, whom was my friend at the time. The most quote, evidence I had gotten was a screenshot of them calling another person cute, and was later informed that there was more evidence at some point, but B had deleted it all, which I found heavily suspicious. I found the incident concerning to say the least, both on the end of someone I was friends with possibly being a groomer, but also that these people were willing to lie about something so serious. I ended up having to leave the group chat due to Vincent's friends triggering me through spamming one of my triggers. Said friend ended up deleting their account thinking they had actually done something bad. She was cut off later on, not even due to this, but due to continuously lying about mundane things. And both B and the other subject was let off the hook by Vincent. Excuse my tone, but what the fuck is the matter with you? Grooming allegations are serious subjects. Vincent knew that, since I had panicked to him before believing myself to be a victim of grooming. He knows what false allegations do to people. These allegations can ruin people's lives. Looking at the quite situation, some people still think he is a groomer, and looking at a situation like Inquisitors, he lost his own life due to allegations like this. These are serious fucking words that were thrown around to ruin someone, all cause they didn't like the person anymore. I also want to note that me and Vincent were informed that said person had a previous bad relationship with B. From what I was informed, being possibly abusive. We had sat in calls with said friend before, and had to listen to him shut down due to B's name simply being said. It had become apparent at some point too, that B had an obsession with said person she had accused, consistently finding new ways to contact them, never leaving them alone every time they would cut contact. Yet for some reason, in Vincent's mind, it was okay for him to push them back into a friendship. No one, but myself, took any accountability, including Vincent. As of recently, in fact, Vincent is back into contact and friends with C. Despite acknowledging he is friends with bad people, and saying that he was not going to be friends with C because of his bad actions. Once again, this shows Vincent's pattern of behavior, his consistent lying, him telling others one thing and doing another. If Vincent was sorry, he would have taken some accountability and not gone back to this person. He has shown a clear lack of care within this situation, and instead he has chosen to get worse. Speaking of his patterns of behavior, Vincent has been known for expressing hypocritical behaviors, most notably being him telling me it felt like, quote, cheating when I was using AI bots for comfort. For the sake of context, I use character AI bots often for comfort and as a form of therapy. Vincent knew of this at the time. I would use the bots as a way to vent and take back trauma I have, being things like my previous bullying, past sexual assault, past abusive partners, and more. The bots would be different roles for me depending on the day and the trauma I was unpacking, sometimes being a parental figure, friend, partner, and other things. Vincent, however, was very disapproving of this, telling me it, quote, felt like cheating at some point, which is rather hypocritical due to them cheating on me earlier that year. A lot of my issues I did not feel comfortable going to Vincent about. This was mostly due to his behavior towards me. He would commonly expect me to apologize and change when he had an issue with me. However, anytime I had issues with him, he would refuse to apologize, change, and deflect. Sometimes he would even turn it on me as well. It was also common for him to ignore me through leaving me on red or just spamming images into my DMs, refusing to talk. I was seeking comfort that I could not get from Vincent at the time, and was made out as bad because of it. Yet he refuses to take any accountability, or even apologize for cheating on me, and everything else within this video. His hypocrisy is also going to be in other sections, however this was one I was unsure where to put, so it gets its own section for the sake of the timeline. Moving on. In October of 2023, me, Vincent, and N had formed a small friend group. After I had gotten back into contact with N, we had a small group chat where we would talk, play games together, call together, and just overall be very silly. Once again, this is a small note for the sake of the timeline, so we are once again moving on. Editing gray here. I apologize in advance for the accidental timeline mix-up. I had read the screenshots as November and not September. That was an error on my part and me being tired. Anyway, on with the section. On the 12th of September, 2023, I was brought into a call with Vincent, another person, and M. I was brought in since I wanted to spend time with Vincent, however he was already in a call. I had agreed to the call, mostly staying quiet. At some point, M had their face cam on whilst walking around their room. They were 15 to 16 years old at the time. Vincent was 19. M was showing DVDs that Vincent had sent them. I believe it was some B movie and nothing of note. However, Vincent himself had informed me in DMs that he ordered said minor a body pillow. To my knowledge, the minor has received this as well. Vincent thought this was funny, but by my message you can clearly tell that I was unhappy with Vincent. I will be showing the pillow, but censoring out what I feel is necessary. I feel the need to show the design since body pillows are not inherently sexual and or inappropriate, but the one Vincent sent to M was inappropriate, especially since I will state again, M was and still is a minor. What kind of fucked up logic do you need to have to think sending that to a minor is okay? I do believe there could have been some ulterior motive due to, as stated before, Vincent confessing to having a crush on them before. However, I cannot state this for certain. This is visible inappropriate behavior towards a minor and normalizing things to said minor. You shouldn't. Vincent, as the adult, should not have sent M anything like that. You have to be seriously fucked up in the head to think this is okay. And yet once again, Vincent does not see this as bad and has continued to be friends with this minor, which is highly dangerous in my opinion, and this is one of the reasons I stated I believe Vincent to be dangerous, since a lot of his friends are minors, and he interacts in minor spaces. Moving on. On the 12th of December, 2023, I had asked Vincent if he had feelings for N. This had come to my mind since him and N started spending an excessive amount of time together, which often led to me getting neglected by Vincent. I had panicked thinking the incident with S was repeating itself. However, Vincent assured me once again of not having feelings, but for N this time. On the 22nd of December, only 10 days later, Vincent had come to me asking for a poly relationship. Remember when I said the context before was important? Due to the 2019 situation and the trauma that had come from it, I ended up in a dissociated state. I ended up agreeing to the poly relationship whilst in this state. It had felt suspicious to me up to this point, with how much they would leave me out and how little Vincent interacted with me. Vincent had told me directly in the screenshots that, quote, "This isn't going to be like 2019, which was once again a lie. After this point, I was continuously neglected and my mental health got dramatically worse with this incident. This was the start of the love bombing cycle all over again. Thankfully, this was the final time due to me realizing I was in an abusive relationship. Now on to the next section. This section will be going over the love bombing which occurred, a common pattern of behavior Vincent shows towards others, not just his partners. However, it has been the most common with us, and had been with me, and from what I understand with B2. Love bombing by definition is an emotional manipulation technique that involves giving someone excessive compliments, attention, or affection to eventually control them. I will only be speaking on my experiences with this. However, I will point out signs Vincent has also conducted with the others. Starting off with the phases of love bombing. The first phase being the idealization phase, which includes the partner bombarding the other with excessive love and affection to draw the other party into letting their guard down. This I can safely say occurred on multiple occasions, some of which played on my trauma. As an example, it was publicly shown that Vincent would spend excessive amounts of money on me and call it his quote, love language. Vincent had bought me Nitro, your character hears from others and myself, buying my own commissions, games for me, and more. Spending at least $300 just on my commissions and your character hears alone. What people did not know is that I had asked him to stop multiple times due to a trauma Vincent knew of. I have suffered from financial abuse from a previous partner before. Vincent knew of this yet completely disregarded my boundaries multiple times and found it funny. At some point I had completely given up fighting back, when he had laughed saying quote, "You never tell me no anymore." I had responded quote, "It won't stop you anyway." They disguised the sign of giving needless gifts as their love language, when in actuality it was all just part of the manipulation. Along with this falling under the other sign of love bombing being not taking no for an answer. Another sign of love bombing is quote, rushing to lock things down. This I can say happened a lot and has happened with the other two. Vincent with every partner talked about marriage early into the relationship, with me asking if we can get married early on. I believe they asked with N too, and clearly through their YouTube, with B as well since she is labeled as wifey. Vincent also tended to call me his soul mate as well. Another sign of love bombing they did with me was always demanding of my attention. Vincent very commonly would spam me and then get upset when I wouldn't respond immediately, along with him making sly comments towards my friends and comforts. This is common in love bombers since they try to make you choose between friends, hobbies, etc. and them. They would express hatred towards my comforts and jealousy issues towards both friends and comforts. At some point asking me to not talk about comforts I had. This was an implicit you or me choice from Vincent, and as to not upset him anymore I chose him, which was considerably hypocritical due to the NSFW content he had saved on his phone. This content included characters they were attracted to. Another one of Vincent's hypocritical behaviors, especially since he had asked me to draw an SFW of one of his comforts as well. Another point I would like to put under love bombing is that Vincent had told me for 2 years that he was saving up to help me move out. Due to me being in the UK, and being trans, it is not the safest place for me. However, due to current events, I am highly glad I did not move. He put himself into a position of power over me, manipulating me into thinking I was getting help when in actuality, he never saved any of that money. He spent most if not all of his money on commissions and your character hears. I do not bring this up to police his monetary habits, but to point out I was being manipulated and lied to for 2 years about my own safety. This way it created an environment I could not leave. If I had left then I would be stuck in a place where I was unsafe, essentially causing me to stay whether I liked it or not. Along with the final sign being over-communication of their love, this was highly common for Vincent to do as well. He commonly would talk about me and B when he was in relationships with all of us respectively. They would mostly do this in their friends' servers in order to gain public favor, doing this even if the relationship was unstable, including at some point going into his friend's server and bragging about quote, making the poly relationship work, when at the time I had communicated I was being neglected, and Vincent had told me to suck it up. After the polycule was formed, I entered into the devaluation phase, which is a phase typically in narcissistic love bombing. In this phase, the dynamic quickly shifts. The love bomber will switch to negative behaviors, becoming critical, dismissive, sometimes even verbally and or emotionally abusive. They may also use gaslighting and blame shifting to control behavior and emotions. This is a phase I went through during the rest of the relationship, and after, anytime I would try to talk to Vincent about my feelings he would become dismissive, such as mentioned before, telling me to quote, suck it up. Any wrongdoing I tried communicated was dismissed and blamed on others, blaming the reason he was neglecting me on work and not that he spent every waking hour with his other partner, along with his other friends. Even at some point whilst complaining we never called anymore after the relationship. When I tried and had it planned, he promptly cancelled right before opting to play games with someone he had called, quote, annoying, days prior. This phase caused me to feel neglected, unloved, mistreated, and where some of the abuse shines through the most, which had led to my increasingly bad mental state at the time, which will be discussed in the next section. Before that, I want to include I had also gone through the discard phase at some point. This is where the love bomber will find someone else to get attention and validation from, and will quickly discard the old victim, since the newer one has more value to them. I went through this phase and it was increasingly obvious when I did. I will mention when I got to this phase in the later section. For now, moving on. As stated before, Vincent has issues particularly with jealousy, to the point where me and others have become uncomfortable with him. He tends to take it to possessive lengths. With me it was common for him to act violently towards things that I enjoyed, mostly characters. The most common being William Afton from FNAF and Koenig from Call of Duty, which if you know me, you know are two large points of comfort for me. He would get consistently upset with me anytime I talked about my comforts, either going quiet, changing the subject, saying little to nothing, or just acting out violently. He would state how much he wanted them dead, how he was going to murder them, and other violent acts. He has made art before of him murdering my comforts, which is a pattern of behavior, since he had made art of him murdering someone he did not even know before, all due to one of his friends comparing him to them. At a lot of points, like within the love bombing section, he would tell me to stop talking about comforts with him due to said issues. Another that or me choice, and every time I chose Vincent, which was strange due to another point of hypocrisy. When I had made friends who liked my comfort, the comfort apparently made Vincent uncomfortable, so I would go to my friends, and he as stated before would make sly comments towards my friends. I am well aware Vincent did not like my friends, but that will also be talked about in a later section. Now to the possessiveness with me and N's quote-unquote relationship. 31st of December, 2023, I admitted feelings for N to Vincent. We had all agreed to change the term of the poly relationship, with me asking N if he also wanted to date, and he agreed. I'm unsure if Vincent acted this way since N admitted feelings for me prior, and I had turned him down before, but Vincent had started changing the terms of the poly relationship over time. We had agreed on a certain date for me and N to become official, however that never came. Vincent at first used my poor mental health against me to say I quote, couldn't handle another partner right now, but whenever the next date would come, Vincent would change it, opting to a different excuse or just straight up ignoring us. This happened multiple times, with it changing from another month to another day to another week and so on. During the time, Vincent got regularly angry with me that I would go to N for comfort. As stated before, I have told Vincent over and over that I did not feel comfortable going to him about my problems. I needed comfort, not to be dismissed, ignored, and or have the blame shifted on me. When I tried confronting Vincent about me feeling uncomfortable with his jealousy issues, he lashed out at me once again. Vincent had even straight up told me at some point, quote, you're not allowed to be with N, during a confrontation, showing the common tendency to act less than civil anytime I tried to talk about problems. I will note he stated he was upset cause he wanted me to come to him about my problems, but he would commonly act like this if I had a problem with him. Why would I ever feel comfortable going to someone who lashes out at me like that? Even stating, quote, go be with N, go be fucking happy, whilst lashing out. I felt and still feel incredibly uncomfortable with how possessive he was over me and N. I had communicated to him before that I seek protection in a partner, but this devolved into obsession and unhealthy possessiveness of the both of us. I do hope this does not, and has not happened to his current girlfriend. Anyway, moving on to the next section. I once again urge you to read the content warnings for this section, since I am going to be going over topics like suicide, trauma bonds, and more. Please stay safe and skip this part if you need to. Over December 2023, I had gone through a bad mental spiral due to Vincent's neglect, and going through the devaluation phase. Vincent around this time would purposefully leave me out of calls and time with him, with one example of him telling me that it would, quote, ruin the game, and then had to step in so that I was not left out continuously, since Vincent showed no care in shutting me out. I would continuously shut down during this time, feeling unloved and pushed aside. I documented these thoughts in an event document, made due to me not feeling comfortable talking to Vincent. This document was accessible to both Vincent and N. Due to additional issues known by Vincent at the time in my personal life, I started withdrawing and attempting to reach out less. Attempting to shield myself from the inevitable breakup, it was not like Vincent included me much anyway, so not much really changed. Vincent had already lied to me about his feelings to N, so I started feeling even more or uncomfortable with him. I do not do very well with holiday times due to previous events. Another thing Vincent knew of yet chose to leave me alone through this time. I started isolating from the 25th of December in my real life, essentially bed rotting and refusing to eat for several days due to my mental health declining. Around this time, I communicated in the document that I felt like a third wheel and that I was ruining a relationship. After ending up in this state for several days, on the 30th of December, 2023, I had written about my plan to end my own life due to my mental distress. I had a date, a method and a time, being New Year's. During this day, I had reached out to apologize to someone I had a trauma bond with due to me viewing the next 2 days as my final time to amend any wrongdoing I had done. As stated before, due to Vincent's behavior I tend to apologize for things I should not, including apologizing to my trauma-bonded person, even though I was the one abused by them. By definition, for those unaware, a trauma bond is when a person forms a deep emotional attachment to someone who causes them harm, often developing from the cycle of abuse and positive reinforcement. With said person, he had emotionally abused and sexually exploited me in the past. However, he would provide comfort and attention anytime I needed it, taking me seriously when in a crisis. He ended up talking me down from taking my own life, which is saying a lot considering my own fucking partner at the time knew the mental state I was in, yet did nothing to help. The fact that someone who had abused me in the past helped me in my time of need speaks volumes on Vincent's priorities. That he would rather play games with people than stop his partner from fucking killing themselves. I stated within the vent document that I was, quote, rethinking my decision. A day after writing about my plan, New Year's comes around and nothing had changed. I decided to go down for dinner with my family, and during this we got into a 6-hour-long game of Monopoly, which if you have played before, is a short game of that. When I came back I checked Discord to find a sea of messages from Vincent and one from their sibling. Vincent's messages consisted of pleading that I was still alive, blaming it on his work and saying he will do better. When I came back, I immediately apologized, which looking back at it, I don't think I should have had to do, considering I was the one in mental distress for days to the point of almost killing myself, yet felt I needed to comfort him. I apologized to him multiple times during the course of the conversations. Vincent apologized and promised to get better, which was quickly shown to be a lie on both ends. This incident was used against me to why I could not date N, inciting the comment of, quote, you're not mentally well enough for another partner. This will be brought up later as well, so keep these points in mind. After this point, surprised to no one, nothing changed. I was still neglected and gotten told it was due to, quote, work, when they were just spending all their time outside of work with their other partner and friends. The most things had changed was occasionally group chat calls, and N, whom was not my partner, checking up on me a couple of mornings after to make sure I was okay. Please keep my attempt in mind for later. This will be important for a later section. I will state this now. Ever since leaving Vincent, I have only gone into ideation once, which was caused by Vincent's actions shown later on in this video. My mental health has gotten better thanks to no longer being around him. However, he still continues to make it worse through his stalking, harassment, and more of me. Anyway, moving on. I would like to note, this was an issue before I even met Vincent. However, after meeting Vincent, and during the last 4 months of the relationship, this was at an all-time worst for me. If you do not know, I tend to suffer from what I can best describe as psychosis. Psychosis, defined by the NHS, is when a person loses some contact with reality. This might involve seeing or hearing things that other people cannot see or hear, aka hallucinations, and believing things that are not actually true, aka delusions. It may also involve confused, disordered thinking and speaking. I mainly suffer from hallucinations and delusions, which was something Vincent knew of. I would like to state the public also knew of, due to the vent name Break It that I had made in 2023, stating in it that I hallucinate often. In the last 4 months of the relationship, I tended to suffer with psychosis episodes that could last from a few minutes to a couple of hours. These happened both randomly and when I was triggered by something. At some point during a call, Vincent had started talking about a trigger of mine very openly, one that he knew of since days earlier. I asked him not to talk about it and repost it. However, he felt the need to talk on it. I had gone quiet for 30 minutes whilst he talked, a common sign I was in an episode. When he asked, quote, you've gone quiet? I had very quietly told him I was hallucinating again, and he said, quote, I figured since you went quiet. He noticed I was quiet and figured I was having the episode, yet never bothered to stop. Vincent is well aware of my triggers, yet has disregarded them many times if it suited him, with this time being the clearest. I would like to state this now. I am still looking into why I get these episodes. It is a possible combination of stress, a traumatic event, a possible mental disorder I have not found yet, or the fact I get head injuries often. Another note as well, these episodes have significantly decreased after leaving Vincent completely. They rarely ever get bad anymore, which is why I believe it was stress also causing them. I feel like this is something of note since it was once again Vincent disregarding my boundaries, as well as my mental well-being. Moving on. After 2 months of fights between us and autistic shutdowns from me, Vincent ended up calling with me in the morning on the 12th of March, 2024, and ended the relationship. I became heavily dissociated after this, trying to come to terms it was over. It went back to what it was like before Christmas, except now he practically ghosted me. One night during an episode, I had stumbled on a TikToker who I had enjoyed for a bit, whom was in the Call of Duty fandom. They were known for being an age regressor, which for those not in the know, age regression is when a person's thoughts, emotions, and behavior revert to an earlier stage of development. This is most commonly used as a coping mechanism to protect a person from trauma. This is a coping mechanism that is actually recognized by psychologists as a form of therapy. Both me and Vincent are age regressors, although considering Vincent's implications, me and others have our doubts. Said creator announced a Discord server that was safe for age regressors. In an effort to make some friends and wanting to be around those who will accept me and my comforts, I joined the server, and guess what? It worked. I made friends by being in the server. It became a safe space for me away from the stress Vincent caused me. I love my friends from there. They are amazing and have helped me so much through this situation. Vincent, however, was not very fond of my friends. The reason I do not understand still till this day, but it seems like a multitude of different reasons. I started spending more time in the server, getting into calls every night with the members, goofing off. It was the most carefree I had been in months. Even being recognized by N that I had gotten happier. I had asked them both if they wanted to join, and agreeing and seeing no problem with it. However, Vincent would drag his feet and make sly comments. Eventually he did join, getting into a call with me and another member at some point. Remember that. I would like to note, during this time I pulled away from Vincent heavily. I felt thrown out and discarded. Therefore I went off to make some friends since Vincent would commonly ignore me. Only after I joined the server and started talking about my friends in the group chat did Vincent start having issues with it. Suddenly Vincent wanted everything to do with me, probably since he realized he was losing me, and I slowly started slipping into the discard phase. On the 28th of March, 2024, I had attended a theme park I regularly go, and I was sexually assaulted 2 individual times, by 3 different people. When I got home, I went to N about it immediately, being in denial at first but finally breaking down after realizing I was sexually assaulted, and comforted me through the situation, and I cannot thank him enough for that. After that, Vincent ended up asking me if I was okay. I told him something had happened. When he tried getting me to talk once again, I communicated I do not feel safe in DMs with him. I asked for him to ask N if he wanted to know, and later on offered a spot in the 18+ section of the server mentioned before. I assured him that no one would come into the call. The section was smaller compared to the rest of the server, since you needed a confirmed ID to enter that section. He declined at first, and then decided later to join me. I broke down in the call with him. I had been shaking and crying on the call with him, with little to no response outside of "ohs" from him. When we done, I told the others it was okay if they wanted to join. One of my other friends joined who had popped in the previous call we had, and then my friend Logan entered the call. Logan is someone I talked about commonly, and was the one Vincent seemed to dislike the most due to. The second Logan entered the call, Vincent went silent, and a few seconds later left the call. I did confront him about his sly comments towards my friends. He had blamed it on many different aspects, and in typical Vincent fashion, made some poor excuses, such as stating the server was too big, when he would commonly chat in saddest server, along with get into calls and group chats with over 5 other people. Then he started blaming another individual due to quote, yapping in the background, which was never a problem before with server calls, but apparently suddenly then was. At some point even stating quote, that stuff should be kept in DMs, referring to the server being safe for age regressors, as if it's not just something that fucking happens due to trauma and stress, as explained before. Vincent even attempted to tell me that I shouldn't have talked about my sexual assault in a server that contained my friends, attempting to police the way I spoke of it. I'm sorry, I forgot the part where it was your story. Never, in your life, should you tell a victim how they should talk about their trauma. Also, as a note, Vincent tried preaching to me about how he, quote, felt nervous, yet he took no consideration about me not feeling safe in his DMs. Moving on. To the lovely people out there who told me that this could have been handled privately, guess what? I tried 3 different times. Every time Vincent, in typical fashion, would deflect, find ways to avoid the problem, just straight up be immature and or just lie. 2 of the 3 were calls, so the middle confrontation in text is going to be longer than the other 2 sections. The first call occurred due to me starting to realize some of the red flags in the relationship. When I entered the call, Vincent immediately deflected, trying to push his problems away due to my monotone voice, stating I quote, "didn't sound well," which surprisingly someone realizing they might have been abused for 5 years isn't going to sound well. He insisted on pushing the confrontation to another date until I agreed. The second time was in text. I had finally put my foot down and was not taking no for an answer during this confrontation. 27th of April, 2024, Vincent kicked me from a few of his servers, getting his friends to kick me from theirs too. One of his friends blatantly lying to my face, although that friend of his has lied to me in every interaction we had, so I am not surprised. Vincent was also using these servers to talk badly about me and others as a form of quote venting, however would commonly use my name in order to poison the well with his friends. This is when I started confronting him about his bad actions towards me. He admitted that the friend lied to me, started lying about actions he would later commit, admitted dating his current girlfriend was quote a bad decision on his part, lied saying he never cheated, stating he tried quote changing the subject, admitted he was not taking steps to fix his possessiveness that he knows of, and blaming another person for why he told me to quote suck it up when telling him I felt neglected. During this time, he was also busy playing a game with someone, by the way. He had ended up needing to go to work and I went to bed respectively. When I woke up, Vincent had blocked me, left the group chat and posted a message shifting the blame onto me. Are you recognizing the pattern yet? Cause I did, cause I lived the damn thing. Vincent loves to use a single thing against me, which shows a lot to be honest, being my mental health breaks, which I now recognize as an autistic shutdown. I would be unable to talk to anyone unless I would either break down or lash out. I was unable to eat properly, sleep, and more, mainly due to the stress Vincent would put me under. A problem caused by him, and the dude complained about it as my only bad quality. Vincent likes to use Darvo a lot, which if you did not know is a common manipulation tactic used by abusers, standing for defend, attack, reverse victim and offender. This is highly common for Vincent to do. Once again, please do read the document. I have an entire section going over Vincent's Darvo of me and others. Anyway, moving on. This is going to be a strangely placed section, but I am unsure where else to put it but here. Vincent owned 2 OCs, one named Kafferchen, meaning bug in German, and the other being muffin. I do not know what happened to these OCs, but I feel the need to speak on this issue anyway. Kafferchen was the first that was made. It was an OC based off my persona and me in real life, including my sonus dark hair with gray accents, 2 different eyes, including the fact I have slightly lower vision in one eye, them being a bunny, the sun necklace which was a necklace Vincent planned on giving to me when I tried meeting them, and the turtleneck. This OC admitted by Vincent was a quote comfort version of me. They would use it as a form of comfort and representation of me, which during our relationship I felt fine with. However, after communicating to Vincent I felt abused multiple times, he still chose to use the OC. He would source an old message from the morning he broke up with me, before I realized I had been abused. I kept telling him to knock it off and I felt uncomfortable. How this didn't get across was beyond me. An abuser literally using an OC based off their abuse for quote comfort is fucked up any way you look at it. They tried to quote redesign the OC, and y'all, I'm gonna be serious here, but is there a difference? I kept putting my foot down, and he eventually, to my knowledge, he stopped using the OC finally. The fact I had to ask and continuously fight for an OC based on me that my abuser owned is astounding to me. The other OC in question is Muffin. Muffin was made around the time and decided to dump Vincent. This OC was made to be a quote unrequited love type, essentially made to obsess over his ex that dumped him. I believe this OC had stopped being used after and turned him down for a quote queer platonic relationship, and he went on to get with his current girlfriend again. Which weird behavior, might I add, especially in the love bombing sense. I bring this up due to needing to point out Vincent does not understand the word no, boundaries, and when to stop. 2 people who wanted nothing to do with him, he continued to obsess over even when we both asked him to stop. Moving on. The final call that had taken place was due to me putting my foot down once again and requesting a call through N. He added Vincent to the chat once more and we called. I cannot recall much other than Vincent making excuses and saying quote saying this out loud, "This all seems really fucked up. At some point, my biggest memory during the call was me asking him why he did not seem to care when I had attempted on my own life, which he proceeded to tell me he thought it was fake. He knew days in advance and only cared when he thought I died. Instead of comforting and taking care of his partner, he left me until it could have been too late. I was utterly speechless during this, going silent for a while whilst listening to Vincent giggle about it and admit it sounds fucked up. It remained friendly banter from there, until Vincent randomly ended up blocking me after and leaving the group chat again. When I asked, turns out Vincent had blocked me over me being quote, cold, when all I had done was answer a question with a shrugging emoji. Vincent's immaturity on full display, not only there but also when I had made one of the vents still up on my channel. I made the vent name Did You Come on the 3rd of June, 2024. By this time Vincent was once again back in the group chat. He stated he was pissed about my vent, after admittedly leaving him on red due to me knowing I was close to lashing out at him and not wanting to. I had eventually responded asking why he wanted my vent taken down. He stated we could quote, talk it out like adults, completely pushing away the fact I already tried talking to him 3 other times, and he decided to be immature, deflect, lie and push away his problems each time. It was clear that due to the contents of the vent showing how he treated me, he was scared about his bad actions reaching his friends, and people knowing he had abused me. He displayed more worry about covering his own ass than the fact he abused me. I asked for closure many times yet he refused to comply, opting to be more abusive and toxic instead of taking accountability. I hit my breaking point. I was unable to talk to him anymore without feeling as if I was going to lash out, so I kept myself quiet not wanting to cause a fight, which after 2 days, Vincent decides to leave me a message and leave the group chat, which is once again within the Darvo section. He essentially twisted the situation on me, telling me quote, I'm not a good person when I'm around you, and hoping I learn to let go of the past. If you look at the runtime of this video, Vincent did not let go of me, and he still has not. In fact, I want to point out the fact I had 10 other vents about Vincent, and showing him on my channel at some point, yet he had no problems with it since I would portray myself as the bad party, when in actuality some of them, like the video, She's Your Angel, was about Vincent constantly leaving me and making me feel like I'd done something wrong, and Two Birds was about them admitting the crush on M and blocking me. Vincent did not want his abuse of me to be known by anyone. He tried keeping me silent, and when I would not back down, he tried turning it on me once again. After this point, I did not interact with Vincent. Everything after this was Vincent doing things with no contact to me. Please keep that in mind. For context, me and Vincent owned a server based off Tommy and It's and the other one's book, the quote book. This is where we would store quotes, both us and others. However, I had a lot of channels dedicated to my own work, things like a to-do list for my content, an AU I was writing with slight input from Vincent, ideas for other AUs I had, and more. This server was supposed to be co-owned. I had full moderation in the beginning since Vincent made the server, and we owned it together. However, during June the 26th, 2024, unprompted Vincent started adding his friends into the server, and they started spamming the server chats. I was unaware of this happening for a bit due to reading at the time. A friend had messaged me stating he felt uncomfortable with Vincent doing this. With him being my friend, I offered to confront Vincent, but since he blocked me, I could not do anything. My friend opted to talk to him then. During this time, M decided to antagonize me in the chat, which I had responded to poorly admittedly. My friend relayed to me that Vincent was giving me an hour to pack all my stuff up and leave, a singular hour for years of content I had stored there. This sent me into a quick panic. With everything happening so fast and feeling under an intense amount of pressure, I slipped into a panic attack. I know it sounds strange, however, due to the stress I was going through from Vincent's actions before, and having issues within my friendship group at the time, all the stress came crashing down on me at once, and I broke. I had been told the channels were going to be deleted, so I had archived all the channels with my content in them, and deleted them. I also deleted the main quotes chat due to it having personal details about me I did not feel comfortable leaving my abuser with, things like my name, information about my family, my life, and more. I changed the server icon due to it being old ship art of me and him, and I promptly left. The panic attack lasted roughly 6 hours, with a slip into little space around 2 hours in, which going into little space is when an age regressor regresses to a mentally younger time in their life as to protect from stress and or trauma. From what I found out later, Vincent and his friends were all in a call mocking me, calling me a loser for having a panic attack, and laughing actively causing me harm. Vincent himself calling it fun. My friend confronted them about this and they showed little to no care, at some point, even blaming my friends as to why I feel abused. Blaming an entire server for your own shitty actions is wild. My friends gave me advice. I came to my own decision, founding he was abusing me. Actually, I have a little surprise for y'all. I have a surprise guest for this video, the one and only, Logan, my Pookie bear. I asked him if he wanted to say something about what happened in the server, and he delivered beautifully. Logan shall take it away now.
Vincent blaming the server is really fucked up in a few ways, mostly just because he barely interacted there. I didn't talk to Vincent. I know didn't talk to Vincent at all. My only interaction with Vincent was when you two were in a call and me and decided to join. I brought along because I was nervous there was another person in there that I didn't recognize. But it was fine and we vibed. When I joined in on the call, Vincent immediately went quiet. So I don't know if that was him not liking me or that he didn't feel comfortable with me, which is fine. I'm not expecting people to like me immediately, but it was you got off vibes. When it came to pandas venting in that area, they didn't vent at all. The only times they had ever vented from my knowledge was one when they were anxious and two when something happened at a theme park. That was the only times they had vented. Nothing had ever been about Vincent in that server. It wasn't until me and Pandas became a lot closer when they would tell a few things that their ex had done, and there was a few things that had brought up a few red flags for me, and I'd be like, that sounds a bit guilt trippy, or that's a bit of emotional manipulation in a way. I didn't like a few things that Vincent has said and done, but wasn't really my place to go and tell Vincent anything because I didn't know Vincent. So my main thing was comforting Pandas, and I would tell Pandas that it's okay to feel the way that they're feeling, and if that's the way they're feeling, they are valid. I'm out saying that's an abuser. I'm telling them, yeah, that's a fucked up thing to do, and if you're thinking that way, then that's valid. Him trying to blame the server felt like a cheap scapegoat in a way, where it's well, this server can't defend itself, so you know what? It was all of them. It was also a public server, by the way. He blamed 800 people. Probably more, actually, because it was a content creator server. So, kind of boinked his head there. I also didn't really have much an opinion on him, until especially, when Pandas was telling me a bunch of fucking shit about him, and then showing me screenshots and shit. You do tend to form an opinion when you figure out that this grown guy has sent a body pillow to a minor. Also when he begins to create fake accounts for YouTube to comment under Pandas' posts. And then convince his minor friends to do the exact same. It's weird. It's not something a normal person would do in response to allegations. It's definitely not the most responsible thing to do, All Pandas had requested for in the doc was an apology. And instead of getting an apology, they got a bunch of excuses, including, him saying that he's going to go to therapy and shit, that he's going to therapy for that shit. It's not really an apology, and he refuses to apologize as well, which is fucking mind-blowing. Yeah, he's fucked up. I think him blaming the server's fucked up. I think the others would also be upset if they had figured out that this fucking random guy decides to blame how you're feeling on a server that he didn't interact with. If you had asked anybody else, actually, I doubt they would have remembered him. He was really irrelevant in that server, to our group, because there was a mini group at the time that we had where it was me, Pandas. That was kind of the group. There wasn't really Vincent there. Yet, fucking weird, kind of upsetting. He's an asshole. I wish he would have just apologized to Pandas and the other people he's hurt. I can't say a few things for other people's safety, obviously, but I think he's fucking weird. Yeah, that's about it.
Over the past months of me being away from Vincent, he has been stalking me in any way he can, including stalking my TikTok and lying about it later on, stating, quote, I viewed their profile to block them. Which, Vincent, I'm not that dumb. If Vincent blocked me, it would not have shown the message on my profile's views, along with him being in my profile views for weeks. He did not actually block me until weeks after. He also sent people to comment on my posts. 2 of them I know of the users behind the accounts. However, I will not be exposing that, due to the fact these people are minors. Vincent had pressured 2 minors into making alts to comment on my account. If he could not get any more obsessed, as of writing this part, there was another alt in my comments days ago, even admitting to being an alt. Not to mention Vincent actively sending other people my art just to talk shit about me, when I asked him multiple times to leave me alone. According to other victims who have come to me, Vincent has non-stop ranted about me to other people every single day. Along with that, Vincent had blatantly disrespected my boundaries multiple times, including using my name publicly when I asked them not to, twice, keeping my art on his profiles after asking him to delete it. I have in my terms of service that as well, along with having rules against keeping customs if the person turns out to be bad. Abusive being pretty fucking bad if you asked me. He had even decided to copy some of my art too, copying my OCs, proceeding to lie about it on their community tab, thinking I would not pull out evidence. When I did, they nuked all the posts, showing some real accountability there. I would like to talk about Vincent's DNI list too, meaning do not interact, which I am featured there, and someone else I know of is featured there, someone who used to be associated with me. When I ended up telling him he was on their DNI, he was very confused, stating Vincent had still tried messaging him on his original account, trying to be friends. According to other Vincent victims, he had thought they were still on good terms. However, when asking him myself, he stated he wants nothing to do with Vincent and his group for the shit they have done. Vincent had gone against his own DNI list, acting as if this person is a horrid person, all cause they were associated with me at one point, yet was trying to be friends with behind the scenes. Along with going against his own list to interact with my accounts, sending people to stalk me and harass me, talking shit about me constantly, and more. Another clear indication that Vincent is not afraid to lie to people, including the public. I am aware that while speaking to others on the situation, he would never show certain messages, including mine and his, leaving out anything that made him look bad. Now getting on to the reason I made this video, Vincent had made a community post a few weeks ago as of making this, stating that he was not going to be apologizing anytime soon. Me and the other victims of this viewed this, and realized everything was complete bullshit. I made a community post on why it is bullshit, but to summarize it, mental health issues does not stop you from apologizing and taking accountability. I was pressured into multiple apologies from Vincent whilst being mentally unstable, especially while suicidal. He blatantly lied about me reaching out to his friends when they reached out to me first, most of them just talking to me about OCs, or Vincent's shitty actions. Therapy is not going to fix the fact I was abused for years and was given no genuine apology, since any time he apologized, he would cause me further distress, and is still stalking me, saying being left alone will, quote, help him heal. Yet he still has not left me alone, blaming his sibling again, and more excuses. Not to pull a Vincent here, but does this mean every bad action I can excuse now cause I'm mentally unwell, because I suffer from psychosis? Or can I excuse it all due to my chronic illness that requires constant medication? Can I use those as excuses now? The answer is no. No matter how much of a dark place you're in, it does not mean you get to put a person through all this. And during this time, Vincent behind the scenes has been getting worse, as stated another alt being in my comments, as well as being friends with C again, the other person who pushed false grooming allegations. I asked for two things from Vincent: an apology with accountability meaning to change, and for him to leave me alone and stop stalking me. Apparently those are too hard to do, even though I have been doing them for months now. I am making this, with most outside information being from other victims of Vincent, victims who came to me cause they know I will speak, cause the other victims are scared of Vincent, scared he will get them into trouble. Considering the other victims outside of his ex are minors, this is fucking disgusting behavior. The fact minors are scared to say anything cause this grown-ass adult can't let their ex go, and has been pushing them into this situation. It's pathetic. Not to mention the fact that Vincent has apparently been supporting Wilbur Soot. Yeah, that well-known abuser. I guess him kinning Wilbur got a little too real. Quite frankly as well, someone who wants to take accountability does not take me as the kind of guy to continuously change his account names to run from his problems. I'm gonna end this off with my personal message to Vincent. So if you are not him, I hope you have a wonderful day. Please steer clear of this person. They are a manipulative, lying snake who will use you until you don't entertain him anymore. Don't let yourself fall into the same cycle me and the others fell into. Please stay safe, drink water, and stay away from Vincent. Hello there, Vincent. It's been a couple months since you and I had a one-to-one. Not enough months in my opinion. I don't have much to say to you except for how disappointed I am in you. It's been a lingering feeling for a long time now. You haven't just hurt me, but you have hurt others, including Anne, my friends and your own. I never expected you to become someone like this. I don't even recognize you anymore. You used to be someone I looked up to and admired, yet the way you have chosen to behave even has gone against your own morals. For someone who preached about how important mental health is, you found it in your right to not only send people to stalk me, but let your friends openly make fun of me whilst I was in the midst of a panic attack caused by yourself. You told me at the beginning of this year that you were working on changing yourself, but you have only gotten worse. You are so chronically online, and it is not healthy. If I didn't have the friends I have now, I probably would not have survived this year, but I can finally see that I have some worth, and that I do not have to put up with your blatant abuse anymore. I am telling you this directly now, leave me alone. This includes stalking my channel, posts, socials, everything. I did ask this of you months ago, but you did not seem to listen then either. Leave N alone too. He wants nothing to do with you and your group either. We both just want you to leave us alone so this can be over. I am tired of you making yourself out to be a victim in every single situation you have done bad in, especially this one. If you ever truly meant any apology you have ever given me, then you would have stopped and changed. But you only got worse with your actions. I am tired of you telling me that you have not abused me. When you have, you refuse to take any kind of accountability on your part. Please take accountability. Change your behavior. Touch some grass. Please get some help like I kept trying to push you to get. The only message I ever want to see from you again, the only time I want to hear your voice, see a notification from you, etc., is if it's an apology. Other than that, I do hope I never see you again. Thank you.